Jack Lee was director of bands at Michigan, University of Michigan, was hired in 1952 at the University of Arizona. After his interview, he was flying over Bear Down Gym, saw the words Bear Down, and was inspired to write what became our second fight song, Bear Down, Arizona. As legend has it, it was, written on a paper napkin right there on the plane, and formulated the idea that he wanted to come back, and once he decided to take the job, come back and make that a part of the history and tradition of the university.
I've never seen him write music and be so excited the way he was. I mean, everybody was excited about this. The fans, all the students picked up that song immediately. It just automatically became the school song. I was one of the first women to be in the band. It was all men, and I was the first twirler for the band. It was real history.
The University of Arizona Twirling Circus, under the guidance of their director, Mrs. Shirley Bertolini.
Writing a fight song created a spotlight on us, and that led to opportunities. Being at the first Super Bowl, marching in Jimmy Carter's inaugural parade. They played Bear Down for the astronauts on the space shuttle. Brought a newer style of marching that was much more revolutionary, allowed for more freer movement, allowed us to build different pictures and create different images on the field. That was huge, but he also brought the idea that music is the driving force. The transformational power of music is what drives everything.
Music in general and fight songs in particular, they serve in part what I would call a coalition signaling function. So they signal the extent to which we are a collective entity to both our inside group, so the people who belong to the group, and then of course it sends a signal to the out group, the people who don't belong, that we are strong, we are unified, we all do the same thing in a highly synchronized manner, and that can be quite intimidating for people from other groups. It goes back to historical traditions where music was used in battle.
Something to bolster the troops or lift up the athletes that are going to battle. We often associate that, athletics with going to war, and gets the crowd fired up. You're gonna have a stadium full of people that may not agree on any one thing, but you play Bear Down, we all agree on that in that moment, and that's special. It's one of those you don't mess with songs for me. And it's actually how I set the level for the band about what the expectation is in all they're performing is with that song. What's good for me as an educator is that I've walked in their shoes literally, I've marched on that field, I've been there, I've played that song. The years I was here, we won a national championship in basketball, we were top 10 in football, kind of the heyday of a lot of really special times at Arizona. And I think every student deserves to have that amazing experience at Arizona. And what connects them are things like songs, music. Music is ancient, it's universal, it's how cultures communicate. So the University of Arizona culture, that's ingrained in it. So when you hear it, it triggers all of those memories. The benefit of the song being so well known is really, I don't ever have the issue of, you ever heard this before? Most of the time from our members, because they heard it growing up, they were fans of it, they've been singing it since they were little. It becomes part of the ethos of being in Tucson and the University of Arizona, and it's what you say when you're Bear Down, everybody, you chant it, you hear it. It's a rallying cry really from the Button Salmon story, is actually one of the oldest collegiate football rising up out of tragedy stories.
John Button Salmon is an icon around the campus. Upon his death, of course, he gave the famous cry of sharing with Pop McHale advice to the football team, which he said, tell the team to bear down. Well, so inspired were the students with his bravery and his courage and his unfortunate accident. That became a formal battle cry around the university, such that students had actually gone to the president to ask if they could paint the term "bear down" on top of the gymnasium. And the idea that the students had had is whenever anyone flies into Tucson, they would see very prominent on top of the gym the battle cry "bear down."
It's 70 years of collective practice. And so even for people who are new to the university, they very quickly sort of become part of that historical tradition, and you feel like you are connected not just to the people who are around you who are singing it right now, but to all the people who've sung it in the past. It's, in a very localized way, it's the equivalent of a national anthem.
The songs change, the traditions change. The songs that the band played back in the 50s and 60s are different than the songs we play now, obviously. But every Pride of Arizona since 1952 has played Bear Down, Arizona. And that connects all of us. Maybe the most important thing is you can walk anywhere in the world and you see a Block A, Bear Down. Chances are you could sing the song together, and most everybody that does that would know that.